Injury recovery can teach you a lot about who your real supporters are. And Jayson Tatum just discovered that one of hip-hop's biggest stars was only rooting for his bank account, not his comeback. This story starts with a torn Achilles, continues with a reckless podcast confession, and ends with the kind of live radio destruction that makes careers and breaks egos. 3 months ago, Jayson Tatum went down with what every athlete fears most, a season-ending injury that would sideline him for months. While fans and teammates sent prayers and support, apparently Drake was in his feelings about something else entirely: his gambling losses. Last week, on Full Court Pressure, the Six God decided to air out his betting grievances to the world. Lost a ridiculous amount of money on Tatum this season, Drake admitted with zero shame. Dead money. Dude just disappeared when I needed him most. That's a direct quote, folks. A millionaire rapper calling an injured athlete dead money because his gambling addiction didn't pay off. What's your take on this? Should celebrities be calling out athletes for ruining their bets, or is that crossing a line that should never be crossed? Drake thought he could throw that disrespect into the universe without consequences. He calculated wrong. Because days later, Tatum was listening to TMZ Radio from his recovery room in Los Angeles, still working through the hardest challenge of his professional life, when they played him Drake's comments. What happened next wasn't just a response. It was a masterclass in how to handle disrespect with dignity while still making your point crystal clear. I'm not here to win your bets. I'm here to come back stronger. Maybe next time, bet on yourself. Sometimes the perfect response writes itself. Drake's gambling confession. When celebrity entitlement goes too far, the Full Court Pressure podcast studios in Toronto buzzed with the usual pre-recording energy. Drake had stopped by to promote his latest album, but hosts Mike McKenzie and Sarah Chen knew they had a goldmine opportunity, getting the notorious sports gambler to talk about his recent betting wins and losses. Drake settled into the guest chair, chains sparkling under the studio lights, looking every bit the superstar who treats million-dollar bets like pocket change. The conversation started innocuously enough: favorite teams, playoff predictions, the usual celebrity sports talk. But when McKenzie brought up the Celtics' disappointing season after Tatum's injury, something shifted in Drake's demeanor. "Man, don't even get me started on that situation," Drake said, shaking his head with genuine frustration. "I lost a ridiculous amount of money on Tatum this season, and I'm talking stupid money, the kind that would make regular people sick." The hosts exchanged glances. This was getting interesting. "How much are we talking?" Chen pressed. Drake leaned forward, clearly enjoying the shock value. "Let's just say it's more than most people's yearly salary. But that's not even the worst part. What came next was the line that would haunt this conversation forever. Dead money, that's what my accountant called it. Dead money because Tatum just disappeared when I needed him most. Think about that for a second. A man who makes millions calling an injured athlete's torn Achilles dead money because it affected his gambling. Have you ever heard anything more tone-deaf in your life?" Drake wasn't finished. He seemed energized by his own audacity. "I get that injuries happen, but the timing was terrible for me. I had money riding on his MVP candidacy, his playoff performance, team success, everything tied to this dude staying healthy." "You sound like you're blaming him for getting injured," McKenzie observed. "I'm not blaming him for the injury," Drake clarified, though his next words suggested otherwise. "I'm saying when you're performing at that level, making that money, representing that franchise, your body is part of the product, and the product failed." The silence that followed was deafening. Even in a culture where athletes are routinely treated as commodities, Drake had crossed into territory that made everyone uncomfortable. "The product failed?" Jen repeated, incredulous. "Look, I respect Tatum as a player," Drake backpedaled slightly, "but business is business. When I invest in someone's success and they can't deliver for whatever reason, I'm going to feel some type of way about it." Those words would soon find their way to the very athlete he'd just dismissed as a failed investment. Tatum hears everything, the moment that changed the game. Jayson Tatum's recovery routine was methodical and grueling. Every morning at his Los Angeles rental, he'd wake up, check his ankle mobility, complete his physical therapy exercises, and then settle in for the mental challenge of staying connected to basketball while his body healed. TMZ Radio had become part of his daily routine, a way to stay plugged into the sports world that felt increasingly distant from his rehab room. Harvey Levin and the crew provided the kind of unfiltered sports gossip that kept him entertained during the long hours of recovery. On this particular Wednesday, Tatum was midway through his afternoon stretching routine when TMZ's entertainment segment took an unexpected turn. "So we've got some interesting audio from Drake's podcast appearance," announced co-host Michael Babcock. "Apparently the sixth guard is not happy with a certain Celtics superstar." Tatum paused his stretching. Drake talking about the Celtics usually meant talking about him. What he heard next stopped him cold. The audio played in full, Drake's complete rant about dead money, about Tatum disappearing when I needed him most, about the product failing. Each word hit like a physical blow. Imagine working through the hardest challenge of your professional life, learning to walk properly again, rebuilding your entire lower body strength, dealing with the mental anguish of watching your team struggle without you, and then hearing someone call you dead money because your injury hurt their gambling addiction. How would you process that kind of disrespect? What would your first instinct be? Tatum sat in stunned silence for several minutes after the audio ended. This wasn't the usual criticism athletes face about performance or effort. This was something different, a complete reduction of his humanity to a gambling chip. His phone started buzzing immediately. Teammates, friends, family members who had also heard the segment were reaching out. The messages ranged from outrage to disbelief to simple support. But one text stood out. It was from his trainer, Drew Hanlon. "You need to respond to this. Not for him, for you." Tatum knew Hanlon was right. This wasn't about Drake's money or even his disrespect. This was about setting a boundary, making it clear that athletes are human beings, not investment portfolios. He picked up his phone and dialed TMZ Radio directly. "This is Jayson Tatum," he said when the call connected. "I understand y'all just played some audio about me. Mind if I respond?" The pause on the other end was brief but telling. Within minutes, they were preparing to put a recovering NBA superstar live on air to address one of entertainment's biggest names. The collision was about to happen. The live response. When dignity meets defiance, TMZ Radio's afternoon show rarely featured unscheduled celebrity guests, but when Jayson Tatum calls, wanting to respond to Drake's gambling comments, you clear the schedule immediately. Harvey Levin personally took the call, recognizing the magnitude of what was about to unfold. "Jayson, are you sure you want to do this live? We can record something if you prefer." "Nah, Harvey," Tatum replied, his voice steady but carrying an edge that regular listeners had never heard before. "If Drake can talk about me on a podcast, I can respond in real time." Within minutes, Tatum was live on air, speaking from his recovery room while millions listened to what would become one of the most memorable radio moments of the year. "Jayson, thanks for calling in," Levin opened. "Obviously you heard Drake's comments about betting money on you this season. What's your reaction?" Tatum's response was measured but firm. "First off, I want to be clear about something. I respect Drake as an artist. His music has been part of my workout playlist for years, but what he said crossed a line that I can't ignore. Then came the line that would define this entire controversy. I'm not here to win your bets. I'm here to come back stronger. Maybe next time, bet on yourself." Uday, that wasn't just a response to Drake. That was a statement about athlete autonomy, about refusing to be reduced to a gambling prop. Have you ever heard a more perfect way to handle celebrity disrespect? But Tatum wasn't finished. His voice grew stronger as he continued. "Drake called me dead money because my injury affected his gambling. Let me tell you what dead money actually is. It's betting against someone's comeback, betting against their character, betting against their ability to overcome adversity." The TMZ studio was dead silent. This was powerful television, the kind of authentic moment that you can't script or manufacture. "I've been working every single day to get back to the court," Tatum continued. "Not for Drake's bets, not for anyone's fantasy team, but because I love this game and I love competing at the highest level. When someone reduces that journey to dead money, it shows they never understood what sports is really about." Levin jumped in. "Are you concerned this might affect your relationship with other celebrities who bet on sports?" Tatum's laugh was genuine, but carried a hint of steel. "Harvey, If someone's only supporting me because of their gambling addiction, I don't need that support. I'd rather have one fan who understands the game than 100 who only care about their wallets. The phone lines exploded immediately. Tatum vs Drake started trending within minutes. Social media erupts when athletes fight back against celebrity entitlement. The response to Tatum's live radio appearance was immediate and overwhelming. Within 30 minutes of the segment ending, No Fear Tatum was trending worldwide, with Tatum vs Drake close behind. Athletes across every major sport began weighing in, many sharing their own stories of being reduced to gambling commodities by celebrity bettors. LeBron James kept it simple but powerful. Respect to Jayson Tatum for standing up for all of us. We're human beings, not slot machines. Kevin Durant was more direct. Drake really called an injured player dead money? That's wild disrespectful. But the support extended beyond basketball. NFL star Micah Parsons tweeted, "This is why I don't mess with celebrity gambling culture. We're not here for your entertainment portfolio." Tennis legend Serena Williams provided perhaps the most insightful take. Athletes deal with enough pressure without worrying about some celebrity's betting slip. Injuries are part of sports. Compassion should be too. Do you think celebrity gambling culture has gotten out of hand? Should there be boundaries around how public figures talk about betting on athletes? The conversation quickly evolved beyond Drake and Tatum. Sports journalists began examining the broader issue of celebrity gambling culture and its impact on athlete mental health. ESPN's Rachel Nichols devoted an entire segment to the topic. When did we normalize treating professional athletes like human stock options? Tatum's response should be required listening for anyone who thinks betting gives them ownership over someone else's career. The Athletic published a deep dive into celebrity sports betting, revealing that several athletes had privately complained about feeling pressure from high-profile gamblers who publicly discussed their wagers. Meanwhile, Drake's social media went silent. His usual stream of Instagram stories and Twitter posts disappeared completely. Sources close to the rapper suggested he was re-evaluating his approach to public gambling commentary. The betting industry itself took notice. FanDuel released a statement emphasizing responsible gambling practices and respectful discourse around athlete performance. DraftKings followed with their own reminder that athletes are people, not products. But perhaps the most telling response came from Tatum's teammates. Marcus Smart posted a video from the team bus. "Y'all don't understand what JT went through this season. Calling him dead money while he's fighting to get back? That's not it." Jaylen Brown was even more pointed. "Some of these celebrities need to remember that we're not here for their entertainment. We're here to compete, to represent our cities, to inspire young people. Reduce us to gambling chips at your own risk." The message was clear. The athletes were drawing a line in the sand. Aftermath and accountability, when words have consequences. 2 weeks after the radio confrontation, the fallout continued to reshape conversations about celebrity responsibility and athlete respect across the sports world. Drake, who had remained conspicuously quiet since Tatum's response, finally broke his silence with a carefully crafted Instagram post. The message was accompanied by a photo of him at a Raptors game, looking contemplative. "Been reflecting on some comments I made recently. Sometimes the frustration of losing money makes you say things that don't reflect who you really are. Much respect to Jayson Tatum Zero for calling me out and handling it with class. That's real leadership." But the apology felt hollow to many, especially given its timing. It came only after 2 weeks of sustained criticism and several endorsement partners reportedly expressing concern about the controversy. Tatum's response to Drake's apology was masterful in its simplicity. I appreciate the words. Respect is a two-way street. Short, dignified, and final. No drama, no extended back and forth, just a grown man accepting an apology while maintaining his boundaries. Is that how you handle people who disrespect you and then try to walk it back? The broader impact of the confrontation extended far beyond social media posts. The NBA Players Association released a statement supporting Tatum and addressing the growing issue of celebrity gambling commentary. Players have consistently expressed concern about being treated as gambling commodities rather than human beings pursuing athletic excellence. "We applaud Jayson Tatum for speaking out against this dehumanizing rhetoric," Several major sports betting platforms implemented new community guidelines specifically addressing respectful discourse about athlete performance and injuries. The changes weren't legally binding, but they represented acknowledgement that the gambling industry needed to take responsibility for the culture it was creating. More importantly, Tatum's stance inspired other athletes to speak up about similar experiences. Within weeks, a dozen professional athletes across different sports had shared stories about feeling reduced to betting props by celebrity gamblers. The conversation culminated in a Sports Illustrated cover story titled "More Than Your Bet," featuring Tatum on the cover with the subtitle "How One Player's Comeback Story Sparked a Movement for Athlete Respect." But for Tatum himself, the real victory wasn't in social media metrics or magazine covers. It was in the progress reports from his physical therapy sessions, the steady improvement in his ankle mobility, and the growing confidence that he would return to the court stronger than ever. 3 months later, when Tatum finally returned to game action, he scored 28 points in his comeback debut. After the game, a reporter asked if he had a message for Drake. Tatum smiled. "I told you to bet on yourself. Hope you listened." Sometimes the most important battles happen away from the court, and Jayson Tatum just won one that will resonate far beyond his own career. This wasn't just about Drake's gambling losses or even celebrity entitlement. It was about establishing boundaries, making it clear that athletes are human beings with dignity, not commodities existing for other people's entertainment or profit. Tatum showed us how to handle disrespect with class while still making your point unmistakably clear. He didn't attack Drake personally, didn't escalate unnecessarily, but he refused to let the disrespect slide. The real lesson here isn't about betting or celebrity culture. It's about standing up for yourself when someone tries to reduce you to less than you are. Athletes face enough pressure without worrying about some celebrity's gambling portfolio. Tatum reminded everyone of that truth, and he did it while recovering from injury, proving that strength isn't just physical.